Hello everyone, I am Baltmatrix, and today we are taking a look at the other Junkion, and that is Crashbar. I picked this figure up over at the Big Bad Toy Store, link down in the description. I love the coloring of this figure. It is that Junkion orange and yellow, big Autobot symbol there on the chest, and probably one of the most delicious head sculpts I've seen in a while. It's both Transformers and 80s rock star, and I love it. This new Junkion scales pretty well with his beloved Scrap Heap, and they both pull off that Junkion aesthetic just brilliantly. Crashbar is a pretty darn posable figure. Head is on a ball joint and can wiggle all about, swivel in the shoulder with a hinge, then swivel at the bicep, bend at the elbows over 90 degrees for the transformation, and there is fist articulation there in the wrist. There is torso articulation, and it's nice and tight. Legs can kick forward and can kick back. Plenty of bend in the knees, though the wheels for the alternate mode do get in the way. You can just simply bend them down, and then you've got more room to pose. Excellent. And then, of course, there is ankle articulation on both sides. The left foot has more articulation than the right foot, simply because there's not a big whole chunk of bike hanging over the foot. The figure comes with technically 5 accessories, 2 of which are these big cannons that can fit little blast gimmicks. The other 2 are these exhaust pipes, which can be wielded in robot mode as tonfas. What did I tell you? Tonfas can do some damage. That's just so cool. And the last accessory is technically the rear wheel of the alt mode. Come down to the right leg and unpeg the wheel and just kind of pull it off, and then it becomes a disc of death, because there is, if you can get your finger in there, blades. So you could get this kind of glaive thingy going. And unfortunately, only one of the pegs fits in the peg holes. And yes, there is a peg hole in the keister. Even without the accessories, this figure has presence. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the yellow in the chest. Maybe it's the head sculpt. Maybe it's just the fact that it pulls off a motorcycle mode in robot form that works so well. I mean, heck, the Junkions are all technically motorcycles. Now, this figure is a weaponizer, so all of his limbs pop off, which then leaves him with a torso, just like Scrap Heap, and then the limbs and kibbles and bits. I'm not thrilled with there being just a torso and a head. It would be much better if this split apart. It could become a gun somehow. There's nothing here. It's just a torso. Crashbar's transformation is kind of neat, but there's something you need to be aware of, and that is the accessories. These guns and these little exhaust ports are all kind of necessary for the alt mode to hold together. To start off with, go ahead and take the head and just push it straight down into the body. Don't turn that around. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get the head out. I've learned from experience. Next, take the fists and turn them around so that the outside of the fist is pointing towards the inside of the figure, and then fold the elbows up, and the fists will grab onto the spikes that are on the shoulders. And then once you do that, grab the shoulders and flip them around to the back of the figure, and they will peg into place. Back there, like that. Come down to the legs, split them apart a little bit, and then turn them so that the shins are pointing inside. Come down to the bottom of the one foot and flip out the handlebars. Once those handlebars are flipped out, flip the foot inwards like that, and then take the wheel and flip it out onto the fender and put the leg straight out like that. On the other leg, flip the wheel out to the fender, and it'll fold out like that. Take the toe and just kind of fold it up, or fold it as much as you can. This will become the sissy bar, and then put those legs, or that leg, up like that. Inside each leg is a double hinge, so you want to unpeg the knee and then hinge the knee into the body, like that, so that the shins will then form the top of the motorcycle mode along the, well, what is the crotch of the robot mode. And oops-a-doodle, made a mistake. What we were supposed to do is turn the entire upper torso so that the arms are towards the front of the vehicle mode, and then the gas tank can then drop down and peg into these slots that are on the inside of the forearms. And here we have the beginning of the bike mode, and it looks fine. I mean, there's this huge gap back here, which you can kind of solve by pushing the rear wheel in a little bit, but that doesn't look good. And yeah, it kind of holds together. Not very well, I might add, because these connections up here where the legs aren't the strongest, and to be honest, these pegs that peg into the elbows, or the underside of the forearms, aren't the strongest either. So that's where the accessories come in. We're going to start with the big old guns, and you want the long bar to be going along the top. So we will then peg that into right there behind the engine, and then we can swing the rear wheel in and peg that into place like that. And once that's done, resituate things that popped out of place. And then just do the same thing on the other side, like that. And that's looking a lot better already. Finally, come to the exhausts, and this is funny. So remember those fists? You plug the inside part into the fist, and then there's a little divot in the shoulder section that you slide it up into, and that will then connect the fists sections up to the engine better. And it's always a little bit tricky on the second one because things might have popped out of place or might be in weird places, but with a little bit of fiddling, you will get things in place. The one arm is always a little bit more tricky than the other arm because of the extra spikes, but as you can see, that's where you peg in to the shoulders. And that is a much, much better bike mode. Yes, there is some hollowness right underneath the gas tank. I'm okay with that. But overall, I think the bike mode works well, and I think it works better than I was originally fearing, because you really do need the accessories to, one, hold everything together, and two, fill in all the gaps. Technically, the bike mode is small enough that a core class figure can ride it, though I haven't had much luck with anything but Freezer, simply because of the size of the legs of the other core class figures. Their legs are just too thick and beefy to actually get around the, stuff that's poking off the sides. And, well, Freezer doesn't like to stay standing, sitting, or anything anyway, so just run him over and be done with it. Now, let's talk about the Weaponizer gimmick. In this case, it's going to be just pulling off the legs, and then we'll, reattach these bits to something else. So according to the directions, you're supposed to take scrap heap and remove everything from one side, and then just go ahead and start attaching these bits to the front of the vehicle mode. I get what they're going for, but I just don't think this works. It looks really stupid, too. Now, if I had 2 crash bars, I could do 2 motorcycle fronts. That would work better, and then leave the rear as is. I think that would be a good look, actually. Now, technically, you could put both ends of the motorcycle onto the front of this guy, but that, again, looks real dumb. And don't even get me started on what you're left with. A torso and 2 fronts of a vehicle mode. Yeah, not the best. I like Crashbar quite a bit, and it is a ton of fun. I don't care for the Weaponizer gimmicks, though, on this figure. I don't think it works all that well. But as a toy that transforms into a motorcycle, yeah, it works. Yes, there are a couple of little caveats here and there, but overall it's a fun figure and definitely worth having in your collection, especially if you're a fan of Junkions. So folks, let me know what you think of Crashbar down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I have been Baltmatrix, and I hope you have a wonderful day.